the notes, I mean, the presentation and the recording. So if you don't want to take notes, you don't have to. All right, well, it's 12:05, and because there are only 3 of you attending, I would like to start by having you introduce yourselves and tell us just briefly, 30 seconds, who you are, where are you from, you know, your organization, just, you know, briefly, and what's your role there?
Yes, my name is Natisha Wilson. I'm the executive director. Did I unmute myself?
No, you were good.
Okay. Yes, my name is Natisha Wilson. I'm the executive director of the Village Family, where we feed, we clothe, and we educate. We actually provide free groceries every month to the residents in Norfolk, Virginia.
Great. Welcome. Allie?
Hi, y'all. I'm Allie Miller. I'm Development Specialist here at CHIP of Southampton Road, which stands for Children's Health Investment Program. We do home visiting, or right now I should say virtual home visiting. We work with low-income families on healthy living, school readiness, and self-sufficiency.
Great.
Hi, I'm Tara Nystrom. I'm new to the area, just relocated from Columbus, Ohio. I've been working in nonprofit for about 12 years. Past few years mostly in grant writing and research and doing training and so forth.
Great. Let's see, who's joining us? Who just joined us? Pink G. Pink G, would you tell us who you are and...
Hi, Taylor from the Hermitage Museum and Gardens.
Great, great. Welcome, welcome. All right, so we're gonna get started. And this is so that we know what we are doing. This is a training that is focused on skilled volunteering. So we will first look at skilled volunteering, what it is, why it's important, how to create skilled volunteer opportunities. And then the second half will be specifically how to use our system, our Hands-on Connect, it's what it's called, our system to post opportunities for skilled volunteers. So, all right, so what is skilled volunteering? So AmeriCorps and the National Service defines skilled volunteering as leveraging the specialized skills and talents of individuals to strengthen the infrastructure of nonprofits, helping them build and sustain their capacity to successfully achieve their missions. I would only add to that, not that I feel like I'm, that I know better than them, but some skilled volunteering also includes direct service. So we all know that tutors, that teachers have skills for tutoring, and that is not necessarily for capacity building, but it is direct service that is provided to clients. So skilled volunteering is leveraging those specialized skills both for strengthening infrastructure and building capacity and for direct service to achieve missions. So why is it important? Well, in the Taproot Foundation in 2018 determined that almost 70% of all nonprofits, so 68%, don't have the resources they need to do their work. And so volunteering is a way that you can bring in specialized skills that you need without affecting your budget, right? So we're talking about capacity building, like we said. So like strategic planning, or my QuickBooks are a mess and I don't know how to fix that, and I have too many accounts, and maybe you can have someone that can come and streamline that for you and make it more workable as a volunteer, so it doesn't impact your budget and you have those resources. It also strengthens the engagement of your volunteers. So yes, so first you start driving for the Meals on Wheels program, and then maybe you are a social media guru and you can then later help them in your skills and become, you know, their social media campaign person, or create a campaign for them for, say, Giving Tuesday that was just this past Tuesday, or for an event. So something, you know, small. And then from there, it is really an engagement pyramid, because you start with something like driving, and then you move on to maybe social media or marketing and do a project. And then maybe later you become part of their board, which is also a form of skilled volunteering. The other thing too is that when you think about why people volunteer, one of the things that is at the top is that people want to feel useful. And yes, sometimes coming and scrubbing a little area and organizing, that's a way to be useful. But if you are also a social media guru, right, you know that you can be useful in that area that is not, I mean, in a sense, anybody can come and scrub walls, right? Or scrub the floor, but not anybody. Like, I am not a social media guru. I cannot do that. But there are people that can. Lexi, for example, who is, you know, who will do the second part of the presentation. She is a social media guru. She could volunteer in that specific area. So when we utilize the gifts, the resources, the expertise, the strengths of our volunteers, it strengthens engagement and makes them feel useful, and it makes them feel appreciated and affirmed in those things. So, so what are some examples? So we've talked about some capacity building. So like a new logo that you might need, or facilitating a strategic planning session, for example. Or like we talked about, you know, doing something with QuickBooks, helping you with a budget. Like in times of COVID, you know, we are no longer just having one budget. We have one budget if we hit this, and one budget if we don't hit this goal, right? And so that is not something that, for example, that I could do. That there are experts that work on this, and you can hire someone to do it. But if you can't, you are possibly able to find a volunteer that believes in your mission, that will come and help you do this. Other ways, other examples of skill volunteering, like we said, programmatic. So tutors, mental health professionals, and sometimes it's both. And both, actually, I'm sorry, both help you achieve your mission. One, with making sure that you have all of the resources to run your organization, and two, in delivering those services. So both actually help you deliver the mission. Do any of you, Allie, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, from the museum?
Sorry, you're talking about me?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What is your name again?
Oh, Taylor.
Taylor. Okay, so either you, Taylor or Allie, do you guys have experience using skilled volunteers?
I haven't yet, but I want to. So this is kind of me getting ideas to present to the museum and say, hey, let's do this. Let's try this time.
Right.
One of my ideas was having someone do photography for us. So related to social media, mainly because our design manager, she's just so busy that this would kind of be like one of those things that helps her out. And then we can get better pictures that aren't from her phone.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Allie, how about you guys?
Not as much. and like to see that change a little bit. It's just, it's a little bit harder on our end. As you know, with our organization, things are a little, you can't interact with our clients, you can't, things like that. But there are some aspects, obviously social media is Sherry's expertise and all that. And we do have a new development director starting next week who is also skilled in that. But there are other aspects to the organization that I think it's always important. And like you said, to bring in someone with that expertise, you're also bringing in someone who's becoming more aware of your organization and the need. They can spread the word as well. So this really is two-sided. So it's not just gaining their physical support with something, it's gaining their emotional and mental support as well.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So, so let's dig in. One more thing about skill volunteering is that in times of COVID, obviously, a lot of skill volunteering can happen virtually. So the things that we're talking about, photography, probably not, but many of the aspects of skill volunteering, many of those can be done virtually. So social media can be done virtually, and strategic planning can be facilitated that way. You can talk about, a new logo. And in fact, we engaged as an organization, we engaged the help of a marketing organization, and we have not met with them in person. It has all been virtually. So, this is the new normal, really. And because I don't think we're going back to the old, like only in person, even after we get the vaccine and we can go to some semblance of what, of the new normal again. So anyway, so COVID makes it also important at this time that we consider other ways to engage volunteers. So, all right, so let's identify first, work on identifying practical projects that will help you build your organization's capacity to deliver the mission. So the first thing that we need to do is identify the need, right? So Taylor was saying like photography, right? There are many ways in which, many needs that we have. So the way I like to think about this process is the grant writing process. So the grant writer typically is not the subject matter expert on the grant that they are writing, right? And Tara is nodding yes.
True. Yes. I am nodding big on that one.
Yeah, because part of it is that the expert is the one that writes, but you consult with your people. What do you need, right? What is helpful to you? So this is what we think about when we're trying to identify a need is we need to do a needs assessment. So we do process analysis. We go through like how are we working now? What are the processes that are working? What are some that need some help? And then try to go from there. So for example, that you can use more tutors, right? Because you always hear your coworkers talk about tutor, or more docents, or anything like that. But you don't know, because you are not the subject matter expert, whether your CEO might be wanting to do strategic planning, or might be wanting to think about restructuring and doing skills assessments, and for that, you can then design the right project for a skill volunteer to help you out. So ask your coworkers and help them move beyond the pro bono legal help on the one side and the filing on the other, right? So there is a lot of room right there in the middle. And again, remember that it can be programmatic, so direct service, or capacity building. The other way to try to identify the need is to ask your very own volunteers, the ones that you already have, about what are their ideas and their skills. How do they think they can help you out? And if you have a volunteer council, or if you have a core group of volunteers that are reliable, that always work with you, ask them, do a survey. It was very interesting because one of our board members owns an HVAC business, and he is very volunteer oriented, and he wants his volunteers to go and do, his employees to go and volunteer. And so they were engaged at a large nonprofit, volunteering, doing, I think it was like cleanup and, just general stuff. And at a certain time, a lot of them just sitting around doing nothing because, there wasn't enough for everyone to do. And he thought to himself, like, they never asked us to do like an evaluation of their HVAC system. They could do that, volunteer their expertise to say, this is our assessment, and you're doing well or you're not, or in the next 5 years, this is what needs to happen. And it's not necessarily to drum up business, but use the skills that they have, right? And it didn't occur to the organization to ask Phil about this or ask the volunteers. So I think we need to be proactive and ask our volunteers, how do you see you could help us using your skills and expertise? So the next thing that you need to do, right? You do you're doing a needs assessment. You're asking your volunteers. You also assess the environment. Does the current situation change our needs or impose more restrictions? During COVID, yes, very much yes, right? And but there are other ways too. Like, you need to see what's happening around you and how the volunteers can help you adapt so that you can think strategically about the new environment. You're opening a new wing for the museum, or, or Allie, you want to expand the number of families, or you're going into a different area, new area to engage with more families. How does this change your needs? And then you can think strategically about how to engage volunteers there. And then also ask your volunteers now during COVID, how their needs or their availability have changed. So maybe, for Meals on Wheels people, it's a prime example. A lot of the Meals on Wheels programs have historically been driven by older retired seniors. They're the ones that drive. And during COVID-19, that has changed, because some of them fall within the range of more vulnerable, and so that has fallen off. So their needs and their availability have changed. But maybe some of these same retired people can help you with your business plan and can help you with strategic planning or anything like that. So this is how the environment changes, and you adapt and you think strategically then about how to use volunteers. The other thing would be to check with HR, if you have HR, if you are that big of an organization. Who would they hire? What are the holes that they see in the organization? If they had the money, who would they hire? And this is not to say that you are going to get, for example, a full-time or even part-time CFO for free. That is not typically going to happen. So it might, but is not typically the case. But you can then break down possibly the duties and the things that that are being now holes, and try to plug them in with different projects. So the next thing is, if you run out, if you're like, no, I can't think of anything, check our website. There is a list of skilled volunteering opportunities and just skills in general: accounting, IT, marketing, legal, finance, fundraising, education, photography, and you can look in there, and maybe that helps you think about that. All right, so then you finally, you do the needs assessment and you land on a project. And like I said, you are going to have a harder time filling a position that should be paid. And so what you need to do is manage expectations for your organization. no, you're probably not going to get a part-time CFO for free. But yes, there are certain things that can be completed as specific projects. So for example, if you need to do, you know that your organization needs like a new boost for marketing, for PR, you can break those things down into projects, right? You can be like, okay, so we need to work on brand and name recognition. This is a priority that the board has, you know, said is important. And so you can assemble a team. So you can have someone that would do visual branding, logo, colors, someone that will do your website and start with, you know, even that can be broken down into a website audit and then a website proposal, you know, and then you can have someone that would do like an, you know, like a year-long social media campaign. And then even that can be broken down in like, then you have specific volunteers to do specific sections of that campaign. So, so that is something that is a way of thinking in chunking it down. I had a boss years ago that would always say, well, let's chunk it down. It's a big project, but you can attack chunks at a time and assign, you know, turn them into projects that can be assigned to different skilled volunteers, depending on availability. And regardless of what you land on at this point, one thing to always have in mind is that we need to make sure that these things can be either done virtually or can be done safely in person. And that is that is another area of expertise. There are people who know how to do these things. I remember at the beginning of COVID, we had people from Top Guard come and talk to us about security or about new protocols of how to handle now in-person things. So again, that can also be a volunteer. So the next thing that you need to do after you have identified the need is that you need to ensure buy-in from your coworkers and administration. So again, engaging your peers. If you were talking to your coworkers about designing the project, that, you know, obviously is working with them to ensure that they buy into this. So you co-develop a position description and you talk about, you know, what goes into the project. And we're going to talk about the position description later. You decide about who will oversee the volunteer. Is it the volunteer coordinator or is it the accountant? You agree on the screening criteria, right? So what do we need this person to do, and do we need a background check or do we not? Whatever. And then you decide who will be involved in screening the person. And, you know, is it the volunteer manager or is it the marketing manager that's going to decide? And then finally, you know, is who will approve that placement? Is it, again, the volunteer manager or is it the person that will supervise them? I would also say that part of buy-in, and especially with the administration, is that if you have stories of success, of how, you know, this has worked for your organization or for other organizations that you're familiar with, sharing those stories of success fosters buy-in as well from your coworkers and from the administration. All right, so you've ensured buy-in as well, and so now you clearly define the project. And again, one of the things that we were talking about expectations in terms of what the volunteer can accomplish, is also something that needs to be managed for the volunteer. And because essentially they need to know what it is exactly that you want. And so you need to talk about deliverables that indicate that the project is complete. So if it is your QuickBooks, that's a mess. Once all those things are sorted out and you have your new accounts and you have your system set up, that marks success, right? You want to define start and end date if it's a social media campaign. We want to do this for for Giving Tuesday. So it ends obviously on Giving Tuesday or 2 days later when you send your thank you notes. But what do they, when does it start? And ideally a project would have an hours estimate, because for this to work, people need to think that this is something that they can accomplish and that it's not going to all of a sudden suck the life out of them, right? So between 3 and 12 hours is ideal. And then again, if you have deadlines, for example, Giving Tuesday, if this is your campaign, you start talking about Giving Tuesday a little bit before Giving Tuesday, talk about deadlines, be specific about the things that you need and when you're going to need them. Then you also you're going to define what the skills are that you need. And alongside that, the qualifications. Do you require that this person have credentials? Do you require a certain level of experience? Do you require a background check? So, resume, portfolio, references, a CPR certification. What are the skills and the qualifications specifically that you need for the volunteer? Define also what kind of training and support this volunteer will receive. So not just like, this is what we do and this is our organization, but if it's someone that's going to redo your marketing, for example, marketing materials, you need to assemble all the stuff that you have done before, right? And make sure that you have that available. So that is support for the volunteer. And I just want to mention here about clearly defining the project, that this is also how you should think about board composition. That when you are assembling or thinking about the board for your organization, you need to think in these terms. Who are the subject matter experts that you need in your board to assemble a good board that will help you out? Is it subject matter experts in marketing and HR and legal, and so it works for skilled volunteering and for board volunteering, which is another level of skill. So in order to then attract, now you have the project defined, right? You need to now attract the best candidates for this project. So when you have defined all of these things that we have talked about, you are halfway there because you have clearly defined the project. But the next thing that you need to do is to develop a clear project description. So one of the things to start and to have, you know how people don't read? And they'll read a headline and then move on. This is how you need to think about your project description. You need to have a clear, engaging title and not say something like, we need marketing help, but be more specific and say you need visual rebranding or you need website audit. So people know right away, yes or no, because they're not going to slog through like, we've been here for 30 years and this is what we do and blah, 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 and we need some help with, no. You know how it is. People read the headline. If they're interested, they'll read possibly the next paragraph. So think of that, of the project description in those terms very strategically. So you'll have a project description, which is, again, what you defined above, like when we were talking about this, the project description, exactly what it is, expectations, deliverables, deadlines, boom, boom, boom. And then you're going to make sure that you include key responsibilities and how to define success. So key responsibilities, you're going to have to take pictures, right? And these pictures are about the museum and they're going to be used for social media. And then also define the progress reporting, that, who they're going to report to and what are the, what's the timeline and what do you need first and then and second and third, and to whom, right? When these things are due and who do they need to be talking to. And then something that is always very important is impact. Make me realize why this matters. right? So for example, we just recently created a whole bunch of kits with volunteers remotely, safely for seniors. And these were called isolation kits. So we had like playing cards, and we had a memory book, and we had puzzles, crossword puzzles and things like that. And so this is to deliver to seniors, and it's more than entertainment. So when you think about defining impact, what you need to talk about is not just like, oh, look how cute, they're going to get this kit and they're going to feel special. Well, it's more than that. These are isolation kits. Why are they called isolation kits? Because these people are now in a very vulnerable population. And because of that, they are now more than ever being isolated. So they need something to help them pass the time. So playing cards and the memory book is very cool because it's like a book that you write on, and it talks about, and asks you, it prompts you with questions. What's your favorite memory from high school? Who was your favorite teacher in I don't know, in primary school? What's one word of advice do you remember from your mother? That kind of a thing, to engage them, to make them. So you talk about the long-term impact. And so volunteers know exactly what this impact is. And so they know why this project matters. Make sure that even if it is programmatic or capacity building, both, you define impact and you make it known so that volunteers know what the impact is. Make sure that they know what difference they will make. So even when you talk about, we need tutors, okay? So what's the initial impact? Well, 3 more kids will get a tutor, okay? But what is the sustained impact of this? It has to do with academic success for students. They will be able to possibly graduate in time. And, this is a huge marker for long-term success for the students, So this is the way to think about impact. So again, essentially, you are creating a sales pitch for your opportunity. And so this means that your potential volunteer needs to know exactly what they're asked to do and why it matters. I'm a little past my time, so I just want to ask if you have any questions, or if you have any comments of, about this, how you've seen this in practice. Please feel free.
I've done a lot of freelance work over the last few years, obviously going into organizations, helping their fundraising and grant writing. But you make a very good point about, we're not the subject matter expert. I have to understand how the food pantry works and what their operations are and their use of volunteers as well. And I preach all the time about tracking volunteer hours. You can use this, to leverage additional funds and the value of volunteer hours that we find on independent sector and so forth. But I have not seen in my last 10 clients them using skilled volunteers. It's all about, let's just get someone in here to, make phone calls to find winter coats or to pack these food boxes. And they're not using the skill to help their bottom line and help their HR budget.
Yeah.
So I think, and I'll be honest with you, on the Columbus Foundation, where I recently moved from, is a nationally renowned foundation. They don't talk about any of this, and they're really missing the point. So I think this is great information for your members and so forth.
Cool. Great. Thank you, Tara. If there are no more comments, I'm going to pass it to Lexi Martinez, who is going to talk to us about specifically how to use our system to create volunteer opportunities. Lexi.
So, hi, I'm Lexi. I'm the marketing manager at Volunteer Hampton Roads. I don't know if all of you have accounts on our website. Tara, I know that you won't because it's for organizations who are members, but if anyone else has one and they want to log in now to walk through, I'm going to show you how to use our system to both create the opportunity and then manage the volunteers through the opportunity. So that, I'll just start going over a few things in the meantime. So just one thing to consider is post your opportunity well in advance of your final deadline. This happens all the time with done in a day kind of opportunities, you know, the soup kitchens and whatnot. People will post kind of last minute, maybe they realize that they didn't have as many people showing up, and it's harder to attract volunteers without the proper time. So just consider that. And we usually can approve within 1 business day. If not, just reach out to us. I know Natisha has had to do that a few times. We've, you know, gotten busy with something, and but we'll get that up as soon as possible. So with that, I'm going to share my screen to our partner portal. Just one moment. All right. Can you all see my screen with the partner portal? Good. Okay. Okay, so this is when you log in to your account, this is what will show up. I'm logged in as the city of Norfolk because I want to be able to show you some of the things that happen after you've posted your opportunity. So once you're here, it's going to be the same as creating a general done in a day opportunity. Nothing in the initial steps is different. So you are going to go to volunteer opportunities. And then this is all of the opportunities that they've already created and that we've already approved, but we're going to create a new one. So you go to create volunteer opportunity. Yes.
I don't see a different screen. It's still on. It's a great day to coordinate volunteers.
Let's see.
There we go.
Okay, somehow that paused. Sorry about that. I'm on a new computer today, so I apologize for any glitches in the presentation earlier as well. Things were not showing up as they normally would. Okay, so I'm going to start over then. So this is the screen that you log into. Then you go to volunteer opportunities. This is the menu for your partner portal. This screen will show you all of the opportunities that they've already submitted and that we've approved. You can use this to see things that are not published or that are old and archived. So we're going to create a new opportunity. Just clicking this button up here. So using the steps that we talked about before, when you're creating an opportunity, you want to do 1 opportunity per chunk. So if you're doing the marketing, you're going to do, maybe the first person is going to be brand redesign. So you're going to create an opportunity with a clear and engaging title. So we'll say visual rebranding, or website audit, something like that. For most skilled opportunities, they're going to be individually scheduled. People can do this kind of whenever they want. If it is something that you need somebody at a certain day and time, if you're looking for that photographer for an event at the Hermitage, you can do date and time specific. This next part though, registration type, for the most part, you're going to want to do express interest only. So this will allow you to let volunteers let you know that they're interested without actually signing up. They won't get all of the details about your opportunity right away. It'll let you screen them and go through the process that we talked about before of interviews and all of that. So we'll do an individually scheduled express interest only. So then you would go here and you would talk about your description. So expectations of what the volunteer will complete. You want to put the deadline here so that they know if they'll have enough time basically between now and then to get the project done on their schedule. We'll put the deliverables that indicate when the project is complete, qualifications, if they need certain credentials, experience, background check, or if you want to see their resume, a portfolio, or references, just indicate that here. And then you also want to put any training or support that you're going to offer so that they know what to expect. So for this part, the default opportunity coordinator, this is where you're going to want to decide who is going to be managing the onboarding of this new volunteer. So if it's going to be whoever's creating the opportunity, your name will by default be here. If it's going to be somebody else, you want to make sure that they're in our system and change the default opportunity coordinator to that person. They'll get the notifications that volunteers have expressed interest in their inbox, email inbox. So for location, we now have a virtual location as an option. Since COVID, we've obviously seen a huge increase in those kinds of opportunities. So if you don't have any virtual locations already set up, you're going to click add a location in the next step, and we'll get to that. And then for primary impact area, this is important because this will, as we'll talk about later, volunteers will be recommended to your opportunity if certain keywords and whatnot match to their profile. So if they've said they're really interested in children and youth education or family services, hunger and homelessness, this field right here will match to them. So you want to make sure you choose the appropriate thing. I'm going to skip all of these, they're not really relevant. And then the type is going to be a project because it results in service hours. And if you want a background check, if it's something with children or anything you need a background check for, you would go here and select the appropriate level. We have more information about the different levels on our website, or you can reach out to us if you have any questions about that. And then for skilled opportunity type, you're going to generally choose between either board placement or skilled-based volunteer. It's pretty self-explanatory about what one you're going to want to choose. So now we're going to create our virtual location. So we'll call this skilled volunteering from home. Address type is going to be virtual. So then it's not required to put any of this information. If you do have any special directions for the volunteer, something like, send your resume to registration to, and then email. This will show up for the volunteer after they express interest. They'll be able to see what they need to do, what the next steps are. So for this, as we talked about before, you want to think about how much time this project is going to take the volunteer. What's the last date that you could possibly have the project completed? So go back from there. If it's going to take a month and you need it by the end of the year, you're going to want to put it in by December 1st. So we'll start today. And we'll end recruiting on the 31st. Let's say that we need it by January 31st. Then we will create. Okay, so I'm going to just exit that. We don't need to actually create anything. I'm going to go back to volunteer opportunities. Once you create your opportunity, it will actually push you to the volunteer opportunity page that looks like this one. This opportunity has already been approved and everything now. So the page will look like this. It's going to have your description and all of that other information you created. You're going to scroll to the bottom. None of these connections will be here. These are volunteers who have already signed up, expressed interest. But you're going to scroll to the bottom and you're going to go to the skills category and you're going to add the appropriate skills. So you want to choose only one or two. And we are right now in the process of paring down our skills from a list of 200 to 100, just to make it easier for you guys to figure out what to use. So this list is going to look a little different. And right now you see there's a few duplicates, a lot of duplicates. This will be done by this afternoon. And we'll send out a list of our new skills so you guys can just look at that and figure out exactly what you need beforehand. But you'll pick whatever it is that you need. So what did we say, marketing? I think we have branding on here. brand strategy. I think it's brand management now. And we'll click save. I'm not going to ruin their opportunity by adding that, but it will then show up down here. And again, you only want a few. They have 3, which maybe is too many, but with our 200 skills before, there were a lot that maybe applied, but with 100, you should be able to just pick 1 or 2 that are relevant. We have about 1,000, a little bit over 1,000 volunteers. They each have an average of 20 skills. I think I calculated it with our new skills, and there's about 10 to 15 per volunteer. So that's about 15,000 skills that we have recorded right now. So the chances of you getting a matching volunteer who's going to fit the project and everything is pretty good. Okay, so next you're going to, I'll show you how to share this opportunity. Sorry for all the scrolling. So once it's approved, you'll get an email, and there's a link to the opportunity on our website. On that page, you can share to Facebook, you know, get the word out that this is what you're looking for. That way people who are in your volunteers network who are really passionate about what you're doing, you know, they can be informed, and those are going to be really the best candidates, better than the people in our system, just because they're already engaged with you and all of that. So once this is out there, it's been on our website for a while, and you've promoted it, all of that, you'll have some recommended volunteers. So for each opportunity that you create, we have a system that goes in and sees if there's a volunteer who's a match. So for this, they have about 4 volunteers for their digital media and production volunteer. You get, as you can see, certain information. The match level, it ranks different volunteers. So if they match just by their skills, no interest, they'll be maybe a medium match. If they match on their skills and they're interested in your cause or the impact of the project, they'll be a high. So you can see like who's going to be really the best person to reach out to. If they have provided us with a resume or a LinkedIn URL, it will show up here. There will be a link, and you can click that and view it. Otherwise, you can send them a message and ask if they're interested in volunteering with you. On the other side, the volunteers get kind of a similar view. They can see any volunteer opportunities that match with them. And so if they are interested, they can reach out to you directly through their profile. So you can send a message here, and this kind of ties into what we were talking about with the screening and all that. So you can email them directly and start the stages and the process of engagement. You do want to follow the steps of engagement of requesting a resume, the interview, and you can track the stages also on our site by going back to the volunteer opportunity. And if you have emailed the volunteer, you can change their status. So their status here right now is pending approval. You can mark them as confirmed. Go ahead and do that. I don't want to do this because we have not confirmed her, and she'll get a notification. But if you mark her as confirmed, it will then ask you to schedule out her when she's going to be engaged with you all, and just you can put any date, whatever the time period that it will take to complete the project. And this doesn't you don't have to have exact dates, because this is kind of just a placeholder as you are engaging them to see if they're going to be a good fit and all that. After you have determined that they are a good fit, after you've interviewed them and they've agreed to come out, then you would actually go to the next step of approving those hours. So kind of set the hours, and then you can approve them later. If it doesn't work out, then you can change their status again to declined. And that way you can kind of track and make sure that you're not emailing people 50 times or, confused about that. So if you're handing them off to somebody else in your organization, you can share this presentation. We'll send you a version of this on YouTube later on, but you want to make sure that they know exactly these steps of engagement and all of that, and that they're using the system appropriately as well, so that, you know, if they leave, you know, there's turnover in nonprofits. If they leave, the next person who comes in can really pick that up and make sure that the process is seamless. You can use this as well, this site right here. Once you've approved the person and it says approved here and they have the time and all that, you can email your volunteers directly through here, so that you don't have to copy and paste, whatever. You can have all of the information that you need sent directly through here, and you can create a custom email as well. It doesn't have to be this template. Do we have any questions about this process?
And while you think about questions, we also like to emphasize that when you have volunteers that reach out to you directly, which the system will also do because they will get a notification that they match you, and if they express interest, you will get an email saying, you know, Olga expressed interest, and it will have my contact information. We encourage you to always engage with them, always respond, always reach out, because volunteers need to feel like you know, that you care, that you are there, that they're not like out there like and we, unfortunately, I say that because unfortunately they reach out to us and they're like, hey, I expressed interest, you know, with this organization. I never heard back. Do you think that's still happening? So retention is something that, you know, is important. So they need to, every time you hear from them, please respond to them. Even if it is like, thank you, we found someone, or thanks, we will get back to you in 2 weeks. Set that, you know, make sure that they know where you are in the process.
Mm-hmm. One thing to think about is making sure that your email settings are set up to get these in your main inbox. I know that I get them in my secondary inbox, so sometimes it is easy to overlook. So if you're going to be the coordinator for the opportunity, it's just one thing to consider. Olga, anything else to add? Is that?
I don't think so. I just would like to make sure that no one has any more questions or concerns, or would like to share an experience with this. Allie, Natisha, Taylor, Tara. If not, then we want to thank you for being here with us. And you are going, like we said, we're going to send you the presentation, and we're going to send you the recording, so that if you missed anything, or if you want to share it with anybody else in your organization, please feel free. And so thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. And
Olga?
Yes.
Who do I reach out to? Because this was great information for me, especially as I kind of get more involved with more nonprofits, and I can direct them to, you know, to sign up for this. However, if I want to, who's the best person to reach out to become a skilled volunteer?
Sure, you and I can talk.
Okay, great.
But really, if you have anyone that would like to be a skilled volunteer, all you need to do is go to our website, volunteerhr.org.
Yep.
And follow the instructions there.
It's under our volunteer vision program. It's a tab at the top of our website, and it's the volunteer vision, I'm a volunteer. And it walks you through step by step how to create your profile and all of that.
Great, thanks.
Tara, if you'd like to stay for a little bit, we can talk.
Great.
One thing, Olga, I do want to thank you guys. We have something called our chip store this month, and it's when our families can come through and do shopping with points that they have earned by accomplishing tasks, if you will, by, you know, learning to be a better parent, helping their kids grow, etc. We had posted something through you guys, and we've got a whole bunch of volunteers donating items for the store. So it's like I said, there's so much more to this than just people volunteering their time physically. There's a lot more to it than just that. But it's been very fruitful for us, so we're grateful.
Good. That's great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.